All right, let's just get right into it. The Canada Pension Plan is set for a big change in 2026, and honestly, there's a ton of confusion out there. People are asking, is this going to be good for me, bad for me? Am I actually going to see less money in my pocket? Well, the truth is, there is no single simple answer.
And that's because it's not really about whether the change itself is good or bad in a vacuum. It's all about you, your specific personal situation. How this whole thing hits you is going to be totally different based on, how old you are, what you're earning, and whether you're still working or kicking back in retirement.
In fact, you can think of it like this. This one change, it's not one story. It's actually three completely different stories. One for folks already collecting CPP, another for salaried workers, and one that's, let's be honest, a lot tougher for the self-employed out there. So our goal here is simple. Let's figure out which one of these is your story.
Okay, so before we can find your story, we gotta get into the weeds a little bit. We have to understand the new math. I know math, but stick with me, it's not that bad. You're probably thinking, why are they even doing this? Well, the short answer is it's all about making the CPP stronger for the long haul, for future generations. And to do that, they're changing the whole structure. I love this analogy. Think of the old CPP like a simple one-layer cake. Well, come 2026, it's a two-layer cake. And whether or not you have to chip in for that second layer, that all comes down to how much you earn. And that second layer has a name, CPP2. It's the big new piece of the puzzle. It's a brand new contribution that, and this is key, only kicks in after your income hits a specific level. So it's not for everyone. It's really an add-on, an enhancement, all designed to give you a bigger pension check way down the road. So what's that magic number? Well, here it is. $74,600. Now, the government loves its acronyms, so officially this is the YMPE, the year's maximum pensionable earnings. But forget the jargon. Just think of it as ceiling number one. If your income is under this, nothing really changes for you. You're in the same old CPP system we all know.
Right. So for everything you earn up to that first ceiling, that first layer of the cake, the rate is 5.95%. That's your part. And your employer? They match it. This is probably what you're used to seeing on your pay stub. Business as usual.
Okay, but here's where things get interesting. There's a second ceiling now, a new one, $85,000. It's the money you earn in between that first ceiling and this new, higher one. That's the zone where CPP2 lives. And get this, for that specific slice of your income, just that little band in the middle, the contribution rate is actually lower. It's 4%. So let's be super clear. You're not paying that bigger 5.95% rate on this money, but you are paying a new 4% on every single dollar you earn inside that new zone. That's the change.
All right, enough with the numbers and the ceilings. We've got the basics down. Now it's time to get personal. Let's dive into those three stories we talked about and figure out exactly where you fit in this picture.
First up, Group 1. This is for people who are already collecting CPP. Now, if you're fully retired, not working at all, you can pretty much relax. This change doesn't mean new deductions are coming your way. But, and this is a big but, there's a huge catch here that a lot of people miss. Yeah, this quote right here, this is it. It's so easy to think, hey, I'm getting my CPP check, I'm done paying in. And that can be a really expensive mistake. Because if you're collecting that pension, but you're still working, maybe you have a part-time gig, you're doing some consulting, whatever, especially if you're between 65 and 70, guess what? You might still have to pay into CPP. The game is absolutely not over just because the checks started coming in.
Okay, let's shift gears to Group 2. This is probably where a lot of you listening are at, salaried workers. And for this group, the question is simple, it's direct, and it's what everyone wants to know. Is my paycheck going to shrink? Let's just use a real example to make this super clear. Imagine you make 82 grand a year. Okay, so how much of that falls into that new CPP2 zone? Well, it's about $7,400. You take 4% of that, and boom, that's a new deduction of roughly $296 for the year. Look, it's not going to break the bank, but divide it up per paycheck, yeah, you're going to feel that. It's going to feel a little lighter, for sure. And that brings us to our third and final group, the self-employed. And folks, for this group, the story is just different. It's a lot more intense. Why? It all comes down to something I call the double duty burden. They're on the hook for everything.
Think about it like this. When you're a salaried employee, you pay your part, right? And then your company pays their part. It's a 50-50 split. But if you're self-employed, who's your employer? You are. So you're on the hook for your share and the employer's share. You have to cover the whole thing yourself. And man, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? Look at that difference. A salaried worker who maxes out their contributions is paying in about $4,600, but a self-employed person earning the exact same amount, they're looking at over $9,000. That is a huge difference. We're talking about a massive hit to your cash flow if you're not ready for it.
Okay, we've seen the math, we've seen the 3 different stories. Now let's pull it all together and talk about the big mistakes, the traps that people are going to fall into that could really cost them. Now, we've talked about a couple of these already, but they are so important we have to hammer them home. The number 1 mistake, that working retiree who thinks they're done paying in. Huge trap. Then there's just seeing less take-home pay and automatically blaming income tax, when really it's this new CPP 2 thing. For the self-employed, oh man, not planning for that double hit, that's just setting yourself up for a nasty surprise. And maybe the biggest mistake of all is just trying to label this thing as good or bad. It's way more nuanced than that. So look, it's one thing to understand all this, but what really matters is what you're going to do about it, right? So let's talk about an actual action plan. Simple steps you can take to get ready for 2026.
Here we go. Step 1, figure out which category you're in. Are you retired, a working retiree, or an active worker? Simple. Step 2, pinpoint your income. Are you below the first ceiling, in that new CPP 2 band, or above the second one? That tells you if this even applies to you. Step 3, I want you to actually read your pay stub. Don't just look at the bottom line. See where every dollar is going. And step 4, and this is for my self-employed crew, you have got to build this into your cash flow planning. It has to be part of the budget.
You know, when you really boil it all down, this is the best way to think about it. This isn't a game of winners and losers. It's a trade-off. It's that simple. For a lot of us, it means a little less cash in our pocket today for the promise of a bigger, more secure retirement check tomorrow. And whether that trade-off feels good or bad to you, that totally depends on where you are in life, your age, your income, and how far away that retirement party feels. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. When 2026 rolls around and this is all in full swing, where's the real pressure going to hit the hardest? Is it the salaried employee who's annoyed their take-home pay is a little smaller, or is it the self-employed person who has to find thousands of extra dollars every year to cover that doubled cost? There are really good arguments for both sides, and it's something worth thinking about.